Hi to everybody out there, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Kath, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Eastgate. We have around 80 volunteers doing various different roles. So they work in the cafe, they're on the box office, and also ushering. Most of the volunteers are ushering. And my role is to organise the training for the volunteers and also to schedule the ushers into the various shows. So we usually have about 4 ushers per show. And it's a brilliant, brilliant job. I really, really enjoy it. So I'm also a volunteer usher, and I'm delighted to have 3 of our fabulous ushers here today with me. It's so great to see you guys. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being here. And I'm going to start by introducing Jan. Hey, Jan.
Hello, I'm Jan Cameron. I've just been talking to Kath. I think I must have been ushering for nearly 15 years, which seems incredible. I used to usher for things I wanted to see, and sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't. And lately I wait and see what shows aren't being covered, and then I just volunteer to do them. And it's a great way of seeing things that you would otherwise never go and see. And I sometimes just see the most amazing things that I wouldn't have chosen. So it really broadens what I go to see and view. Things I've done is like the cleanup week. I don't know what you call it, dark week?
Oh, dark week, yeah.
The dark week, yes. Sometimes it's been dark. And you walk in and you say, okay, I can give you the day. And there was one time I got the guy in charge looked at me, and I'm quite small, and he said, could you get down behind between the staircase and the front window, and it was like that,
Yeah.
So I said, I think so, so I peeled off down to my shorts and t-shirt and squeezed in there and painted it, so you get doing all sorts of things and you meet all sorts of people, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I remember that, Jan.
Yeah.
That was painting the outside.
All right.
Nobody ever asked me to squeeze into a small space, that's for sure.
So now here's Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I've been a volunteer usher at the Eastgate for around about 3.5 years, so not as long as others, but I've been there for a while. I started when I was in 4th year, just because I'd been in quite a few shows before when I was younger, just sort of dancing and acting and things. And I'd spoken to some of the ushers when I was performing, and it sounded like a really nice community. And I wanted to support the creativity of the local area. I noticed that there were these new and exciting shows going on, and I thought, it might be better than rather than just watching them, to sort of be a part of helping them be put on the stage. So I've been ushering, which involves sort of communicating people, selling ice cream, tickets, just round about those kind of things. I've also been in some of the open days, just sort of kind of drumming up support, meeting with some of the younger members of the community and getting them involved in some of our creative projects. I've been involved in one of the art groups, some of the outreach programs. So I've been involved in quite a few things, but I've really enjoyed it. It's really good. I'd lived in Peebles for around about 10 years before I joined the Eastgate. And I thought I knew everyone because it's quite a small community. I joined the Eastgate and I very quickly realised there were an awful lot of really, really good people that I hadn't seen before. So it's been great to make connections with people that I probably wouldn't have otherwise crossed paths with.
Yeah, I can remember you starting, Laura, but you're always keen to come back and do some more on your holidays. It's great. And here we have Barbara.
Hi everyone, I'm Barbara, and I moved to Peebles about 6 years ago, I think, when I semi-retired. And I'd already been to the Eastgate. I knew about the Eastgate when I used to come to Peebles to visit friends. And I just always loved theatre and just, going to shows. And then someone said, oh, you could become an usher at the Eastgate. And it was just such a fantastic way into the community, really, to get to know people and just to feel part of something. And I just found it absolutely fantastic. And everyone was so friendly and so welcoming. And it's just such a lovely place to go into. And I've just been able to get involved in so many different aspects of it. Again, doing the dark week, and just thinking getting involved in some of the children's events is always great fun as well. The Readalicious week, and the outdoor film festival, and all these things have just been absolutely amazing. And I think some of the other things we'll maybe talk about a wee bit later, like the outreach events. But just such a lovely way to get involved in the community, and really it's been so good. Good for me. And yeah,
brilliant.
absolutely great.
Thank you. Well, there we all are. And so let's have a chat about what we really enjoy about the theatre, and actually what we're missing from being part of the volunteer gang.
Oh, I think Barbara
what do you really enjoy? Sorry, Jan.
I think Barbara said it when she talked about the community. There's a real sense of belonging and a sense of that you have. It's like a family. It's like a big family. People are so welcoming there. The cafe staff are always so welcoming. The volunteers they sort of shield new volunteers until they feel comfortable. It would be unthinkable not to have it there now. It would be quite unthinkable to let that go, because it's just such a strength in the community that Barbara, and I'm sure you agree, and Laura, that I absolutely love it. You know, like 2 years ago, was it, when you were doing a big fundraising, or maybe it was a year ago, 2 years ago, I think, you were doing a big fundraising for the refit, and I decided to I have a birthday in June, so I quite often have a tea party, and I thought, well, let's make it a fundraiser for the Eastgate. Do you know, and I think every single friend of Eastgate turned up, and they had to bring, they brought chairs, and they brought cakes, and they brought their own cutlery. There was absolutely dozens and dozens of people came through my garden that day and made huge donations towards the theatre, and we raised a fair amount of money, you know, and had a nice day out. But it was the family of the theatre that pulled round. It was lovely, a lovely feeling.
That was amazing. A fantastic afternoon, wasn't it?
It was. Were you there?
It was nice
it was
weather,
amazing.
and you had all these teapots.
I do have hundreds of teapots. Yes, people keep buying me teapots.
That made my afternoon. It was brilliant fun.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah.
But there's part of belonging to something that is so important in our fractured culture, that we belong to things. Laura, I think you were saying that immediately you met loads of people you would never otherwise have met, and that sense of holding a community together is so important.
Yeah, I remember I was doing one of the open days, and I didn't think I would enjoy working with young children, but one of the other volunteers brought in this horde of 5 to 6 year olds, and although I was quite flustered at first when I sort of started working with them, I realized that, you know, they were really creative and really funny and things, and then I started volunteering on a regular basis with one of the art projects that went on at the Eastgate. I think I mostly miss sort of walking in the front door when I go to hang my coat up before I start, and having everyone sort of smiling and waving, and, you know, there's a job to be done, and obviously you need to, you know, get on with what you need to be doing, but also having the sort of the chat beforehand, and, you know, communicating with people and having people smiling and waving at you, and especially if you haven't seen them for a long time, it's nice to be able to communicate with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree. I miss all the banter. You know, do you remember the days when Richard was the sound engineer? You never quite knew what you.
How could we forget?
that was always good fun. I do miss that, as you say, Laura. Just walking in and you get that feeling of just being at home, really. Which is, and I think I was saying earlier when I was preparing or thinking about this afternoon, just in some ways felt really sad that, you know, all the things I was missing, and it just, as Jan, you were saying, it's just, you can't bear to think that this isn't going to keep going. You know, and other things that I've got involved in through this, you know, I've joined the Friends of the Eastgate Committee, and I know, you know, just as part of belonging to that, there's so much going to be happening that I hope, you know, people are going to be supporting over the next wee while. But it's just so important for all of us really now to really keep going and keep talking about it.
I mean, I agree as well with Laura and you, Barbara. When walking through the door, you never quite know what you're going to get. You sort of, you walk in and it could be a load of these sort of 3-year-olds charging around in tutus, or or the sort of the aroma of bacon rolls, or there's just a bunch of folk. There's sort of a steady murmur of chat in the cafe as people are just sort of chatting quietly over lunch, but all banging and drumming and loud music coming from the studio. You just never know what you're going to walk into, and I really love that. And I've missed that as well. The sort of the continual sort of array on the senses and the different things that we come across the whole time in there. It's always different, and that's such a it's a really important part of your life, isn't it? Really, it's amazing. Yeah. So what is there anything that you actually won't miss, that you're not missing particularly at the moment? I've got one thing, and that is picking up popcorn from the floor after a film on your hands and knees. I don't really care about doing. I don't really mind doing that, but it's one of those things that you just think, oh, it's nice and clean. That's nice.
Yeah, well, talking about being clean or not, I'm not sure I miss crawling under the chairs when you're trying to retrieve lost objects like walking sticks and umbrellas and purses that people have dropped right down. That was always quite a kerfuffle trying to retrieve all these things.
It's amazing what people leave, isn't it? You sort of think, how can you actually have left without that?
Yeah.
You're right.
Walking sticks.
Exactly, and it's like snowing and freezing out there, and someone's left their gloves or their hat or something. You just think, how did you get home without realising?
Mind you, I've probably done that myself.
Yeah.
I miss the sort of stressful parts of it. So when you're standing waiting to rip people's tickets, and you get a kind of group of children who give you sort of 30 tickets at once and expect you to perform some sort of magic trick and rip them all at once, and you end up just ripping the entire ticket in half. And then seeing their face when you hand it back to them, obviously very disappointed. I don't miss that, but everything else.
I know.
You've probably done more of the children's films and things, Laura, than I have you?
Yeah, usually the Tweed Reads not the Tweed Reads, the Youth Theatre's pantomimes. There was one year when the smoke alarm started going off, and it was quite possibly one of the most stressful evenings of my entire life. But it was also the staff and everything and how people responded to it. It really showed how it's such a warm and friendly community, because they were able to turn something like that into, obviously we had to get it sorted out, but obviously we had a bit of a laugh about it as well afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll miss your fire evacuation drills. That's always quite stressful.
What, on the trainings?
Yeah.
It's got to be done, Barbara. It's got to be done.
Oh, I know. Very important, but it can still be quite stressful.
Only when you go the wrong way up the alley.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's great. So is there a time that you guys can remember, a specific time that you really, really loved? Or an event that you went to that you just would never have done otherwise, or just an experience that you had for yourself? I can give an example for me, and that was when Eagles, one of the Eagles tribute bands were there, and I wasn't actually ushering, but I was working at the same time, and I went up in between the two doors, in the dark bit between the two doors into the auditorium, and because there's such a loud noise coming from the auditorium, nobody could hear me in there, and so I was dancing and singing away in there all on my own, and it was just brilliant because nobody had a clue I was there. And the noise from the auditorium just over, was too loud to hear me. And it was just brilliant. It was really good fun.
One of my happy memories is a dancing thing as well. And that was one of the outreach events. And you were there, well, you were definitely there, Kath, when we went to Broughton for Matt Clements and Bristol Branch, the Brazilian sort of Scottish blend of music and samba. And that was just a fabulous night. They were so hospitable, the Broughton folk, and we just danced the night away, and it was exhausting but exhilarating and just really good fun.
So good.
I really remember that one.
I think it's good that often activities happen outside the theatre as well, outside the actual building. A couple of years running, Carolyn asked me to do garden tours from the theatre. So we did one side of the river one year and the other side of the river the other year, and I lined up maybe 6 gardens, and this gang of people turned up, and it was you know, you tell people to book and then they just turn up anyway. So you end up with twice as many as you think would be a good number, you know. But we had such fun going around these gardens, and the people in the gardens were just so delighted to show off their gardens, you know, and it was just magic. You know, we were eating like green gages off somebody's tree 1 minute, and then you were picking pea pods in another person's garden the next, and folk were just so into it. It was just such fun, you know, it was really lovely fun. And I quite like that they do things that are a wee bit outside the box sometimes, and it's not all just straight theatre stuff, you know, it's a wee bit different. You know? It's good fun.
I really love some of the Shakespeare screenings that go on. I've done quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And some of them, I think when I started doing it, I think it was King Lear, it was one of my first ones. And I walked in and I saw on that, I wasn't sure how long it would go on for. I thought maybe sort of 2 or 2.5 hours. I go into the cafe and there's a board on the thing saying three breaks. I thought, why is there 3 breaks? And then I saw it was like 4 hours, 25 minutes. And it was already sort of 7 o'clock. And I thought I was maybe 15, 16. And I was thinking, oh my goodness. And I sat upstairs with Richard, and it was really fun to just sort of watch like the power of theatre in action. There was maybe sort of 15 people in the audience, and just, you know, there was times where they all looked a bit confused. There were times where they were all sort of laughing, and there were times where they were all crying. And it was really nice to sit and sort of be a part of that experience, because even though it was on the screen and it wasn't happening on the stage, it sort of made me realise how the theatre can affect people so much.
Those screenings are amazing, aren't they? Because I love it when they talk to the choreographer or the designer, or, you know, the director or somebody, and you get a real insight into what's going on at Covent Garden or somewhere else. But we actually get it in the Eastgate. It's just amazing.
It is truly amazing, that, Kath, isn't it? It's truly amazing that in a wee town like Peebles and the surrounds, I mean, I live in Innerleithen, so it's a very small town, and all that is just on our doorstep. It's phenomenal. Because I would never go to Edinburgh. I don't really, can't be bothered travelling to Edinburgh for entertainment anymore. But I'd happily just hop on a bus and go to Peebles, and, you know, and then it's like you've got the whole world on your doorstep. It's amazing. It's truly wonderful.
And for me, it's literally on my doorstep, because I mean, it's about 5 minutes from the door, you know, and I can just decide to go, you know, to go to a film or whatever, and you decide 10 minutes beforehand, and then, you know, you're home 5 minutes after it finishes, and it's great.
It's phenomenal.
Brilliant. Great. Well, I think we has anybody got anything else they'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, it's just we've got to keep this going.
Yeah, definitely. We will do that. It's a bit like a
village school, isn't it? Where in a village, the beauty of a village school is that everybody gets to do everything. You know, you don't pick the stars and nobody else gets to do it. In a village school, everybody performs, everybody does everything. And Eastgate's a little bit like that. Everybody gets a chance to do everything if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's just a huge bonus. It's a huge gift. Yeah.
Just the variety of what's here is just amazing. And it's only when you don't have it in some ways you really realise how much you miss it. It's easy to take all these things for granted now, but it really is so fantastic. We're so lucky.
And I think with volunteering for a place like that for the Eastgate, it's just because it's our Eastgate. You know, we're putting something in for ourselves as well as for everybody else, because it's just such a benefit to us in so many ways. You know, and that's the miss that we're feeling, I guess just now. Is that what we get for ourselves? So,
do you know, I know so many quite elderly people that go and have their lunch at the Eastgate on a regular basis. You will know them as well. And I just wonder what they're doing just now, because they go and they have their bit of lunch and everybody talks to them and they meet up with all their pals, and they must be so missing that just now.
Yeah, especially with our cafe staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just permanently smiling.
They're the best. They are the best.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I am missing it, Jan, as one of these elderly people that go and have my lunch.
I'm missing the toasties, I have to say.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks ever so much, you guys, for being here. It's really lovely to see you, and actually it feels really nice to have shared all that as well. It's really lovely taking
Gets
the
me all
time to do.
excited again.
Yeah. So we're going to say goodbye for now, but we'll see you guys, and we'll see everybody out there very soon. And all the best to everybody. Thank you for listening.